So, Kate, this is going to be a bit of fun. You're certainly one of the better agents, or one of the best, I should say, agents that I've ever dealt with. I'm really looking forward to today. I'm really into the subject of mentoring, so that'd be good. So, welcome.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me. And it's an honour for you to put me up the top of the list because you deal with some of the best agents in the state. So it's always been a pleasure to work with you as well, Mel. I think we do some great transactions and would love to do more in the future. So
no
good
worries.
Stuff.
Thank you. I think it's hats off time and we'll start getting down to 5 quick questions. How long have you been in the business and what inspired you to get into it?
Yep, 2008. I came into the business post my elite athlete career. I was a
Tell
reserve.
me more.
Yeah, I was a reserve for the Beijing Olympics. My team won a bronze.
Right, what type
at
of
the
sport?
Olympics? I played softball.
Right.
For Australia for many, many years.
Well done.
Went to college in the United States on a scholarship. So yeah, brought my elite athlete skills across into real estate. Paid better than being a female amateur athlete, you know, with some sponsors on the side. And I thought, you know, why not put that dedication and commitment and focus into something I was passionate about. I bought my first property at 22, my second property at 24.
Right.
People used to come to me for advice on real estate. And I thought, well, I may as well get paid for this.
Yeah.
A friend of mine, Shane Wakeland, who was playing for Collingwood at the time, connected me with Pete Kennett and Steve Tickell at Hocking Stewart.
Yep.
And within a few weeks, I started along there next to Barb Gregory.
Yes.
And so I was, what do I call myself? Yeah, junior Barb. And we worked together and then ended up launching Marshall White together in 2011.
And that's where you are now?
Correct. So I'm at Marshall White in Bay Street, Brighton.
Right.
And we started with the two of us and a PA on some little IKEA desks.
Yeah.
And now we're 32 strong and in a very large office with a big property management division. We've obviously, we're part of a beast. It's a juggernaut at Marshall White, and I'm just honoured to work in such a place, and it's changed my life.
I'm not trying to ask you any sort of gotcha question here, but I just thought of this as we go. I mean, yourself and Barb, two strong females in a, let's face it, a male-dominated company and a male-dominated area. Like, it's not just Marshall White, it's basically every real estate company. How do you find that? How do you deal with that? Or is it just...
No, look, I mean, I see everyone as people. I don't see them as male or female. They're just human beings. And, you know, I've always thought being a female in real estate is like being an athlete on steroids. You know, I see it as a huge edge. You know, our empathy, our listening skills, our attention to detail. I mean, I can tell you what perfume someone is wearing when they walk up to an open for inspection. I can remember what they wore to an open and what they wear on auction day. So I know they're there for a sold sticker photo. I mean, these are things that give us the edge as women. So, you know, I see it as a massive plus, and I'd like to be inspiring to other young women to continue to join the industry because I think it's the best industry on the planet. Honestly, it is.
Well, you've certainly made me think about something then. I can see a market news article coming up on perfume now, which I've never considered before. So there you go. I'm learning all the time. Anyway, kids, families, holidays. So where are you at and where do you like to go?
Yep. So I've got one little boy, Zach, who'll be 3 towards the end of the year. So that's been a juggle. You know, I think that's probably the only difficulty as a female in any industry is that when you decide to become a mum, at some point you have to step back and become second for a while and probably even third if you've got a partner. So I found that over COVID it was probably actually quite advantageous because I couldn't do much work anyway. So I got to have my time with Zach and anyway then, you know, the marriage fell apart at the end of all of that, but that's okay. She's back out there, Mel. We've had a discussion about that.
Let's move on from that. This is not really the podcast that we're talking about.
No, we'll get to that. Yeah. So yeah, one little boy and
holidays.
And then,
where do you like to go for holidays?
Somewhere warm. I'm not a ski bunny, snow bunny. Hate the cold. So anywhere where it's a warmer climate, I go. And you know, a lot of people know that have followed me over the years that I work in 10-week sprints and blocks. So I go hard for 10 weeks. Obviously, we've just started that 10 weeks this week. And then at the end of that, I get on a plane and I get out of here. I go north, south, east, west, but somewhere warm with sun, refresh, unplug, get to unplug and unpack the bags and really sort of think what's working, what's not working, on track, off track, and then get back into it after my break. And that works for me, keeps me balanced and keeps me energized to love what I do and love life.
Good. Biggest deal job-wise and the most happiest job that you've ever done?
Oh gosh, happiest job. I mean, I get teary.
Most enjoyable.
Yeah, I get teary at a lot of my auctions when people buy. I mean, anything I sell.
I get teary at some of your auctions too, but that's another story. Yeah, keep going.
When we extract more money out of you.
Well, that's all I lose.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, look, I don't like anyone to be green at the end and think, what have I done? And, you know, I think every transaction, I'd like to think that I put together sales where everyone's happy. A seller's happy, a buyer's happy, and you know, we create dreams for people, and honestly, being a part of their journey. I spoke to a lady this morning. I've been in her life for 15 years, you know, since pre-kids, and now she's got an 11-year-old and a 9-year-old, and you watch them grow, and you're part of the journey. And there's highs and lows, and sometimes they're extremely emotional when there's death, or you know, a really sad reason why there's a sale, and sometimes it's just so happy at the end. My parents love coming to my auctions, and I look over and my mum always bawls when it's knocked down to a young family. I see her cry and I start crying, but I think the day I lose that passion, I'll probably walk away from this industry.
No worries. Your biggest indulgence outside of work then?
Oh, look, I don't really have anything specifically, you know.
Come on,
no,
Kate.
Honestly, you'd think I'm an all or nothing girl.
You're trying to say you're boring?
I'm not boring.
Yeah.
Biggest indulgence. Look, just fun. I'm a fun junkie, you know, and it's a good and a bad thing because, you know, I want more. I've got an insatiable appetite to always have fun and be doing better. Oh, look, hobby-wise, I, you know, we'll get to the mentoring stuff, but I exercise, I train, you know, I get involved in, you know, I've done triathlons and fun runs and, you know, every year I get involved in something different like that. You know, I've done learning languages and musical instruments and singing and all the rest of it. So it's always a hobby that I pick up along the way, but I don't have much time now for hobbies because it's about Zach.
You're officially boring now, that's what I've decided.
Oh yeah, I sound so boring.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, so this podcast is about mentoring and specifically about how you found mentoring. What actually in your mind is a mentor?
So a mentor is probably someone that takes your hand and guides you and leads you on a journey. Someone that inspires you. You know, you may want to emulate the way that they live their life, the things that they choose to do, the way they do things. You know, I guess as a young athlete, you always have mentors. You have role models and you have, you know, you grow up with posters of them all around your room. And then as you become more into something, you really grab onto someone and the way they do things. So, you know, I used to have many coaches and mentors, mental coaches, physical coaches, you know, spiritual coaches and mentors and guidance in my life, and never just one. You know, I think you grab the best of lots of people and put them together and it makes you whole. So then when I came into real estate, I obviously I followed Barb and did a lot of things that Barb did and watched the way that she lived her life. And, you know, John Bongiorno, obviously one of the founders of Marshall White, is a huge guidance and inspiration for me. He's made me cry a couple of times in my career because he's hard. And look, I love hard and tough. I always played the best for the coaches that were the hardest on me. So I know that works for me. I don't want to be told I'm great. I want to be told what I can do better. And so I think I'm a tough mentor like that too. So there are people that I say, if I'm going to take you on a journey and guide and help you, you better be ready to be knocked around a bit because I'm not going to tell you what you do great all the time. In fact, I've been told at times, oh, you criticise me all the time. You know, you're so opinionated about the things that I do. And I say, well, it's because I care and I want you to be better. If you don't want me to say a word, it's because I probably have no interest in your career.
I agree with you on that particular point. I find that, I also do a reasonable amount of mentoring. I hope it's the mentoring that people want, but I tend to be a bit more on the hard side than the lovey-dovey kumbaya side. I think at times you have to be. I think all the AFL coaches will tell you that, you know, you have to treat people differently and see what brings out the best.
Correct.
But as a general rule, I find I'm harder rather than softer, and that does create some friction. But at the end of the day, I've seen it produce some wonderful results. So, do you have a current? I know you talked about John Bongiorno and Barb Gregory, but do you currently have any mentors at the moment, inside and outside of real estate?
Yes. So I would say, look, Chris Hanley, who's First National in Byron Bay. I connected with Chris.
That's a real estate agency.
It's a real estate agency in Byron Bay, and he came to me when I spoke at ARIC many, many years ago and said, I'd love to take you.
ARIC is a conference of a whole lot of real estate agents every year or so, usually in Sydney, sometimes in Queensland.
Yes, so it's the National Real Estate Conference.
Be a fun time being in there amongst a couple of thousand real estate agents.
Correct.
I've never actually been to one, but
you should come
I don't think I'll be rushing
either,
but let's keep going.
So, Chris saw me present up there and, 3,000 or 4,000 people in the auditorium, and I got up and told a story and tried to inspire the crowd, and he grabbed me afterwards and said, I'd love to spend time with you. And, he's been there with me since pre-marriage, pre-kids, divorce, death, whatever it is. And we check in every few weeks, and I care very much for Chris, and anytime he's in Melbourne, I catch up with him. And I think he's probably one of the best real estate human beings going around. I love about him that he's not about the money, he's not about the fame, the fortune. He's genuinely about helping people and helping the people in his office to have better lives and to live freely and fulfilled and happy, and also the clients that he's worked with over the years. So no one better than Chris, I would say.
And I'll ask you a few more, but I think you've raised a really good point. Look, there certainly are a number of real estate agents out there that are focused on turnover, focused on their income, focused on transactions. But I also found over the years, and I perhaps didn't think this at the start, there are a lot of agents out there that basically just like doing the right things for people, and at the end of the day, they are paid how they're paid and what they're paid. That is just the way they is, but that is not their focus. Correct. I could not agree with you more. Yep. That's some of the most successful agents are driven by money, true, but there's a number of agents out there that are not driven by money. They don't really need it. They've got a basic level of income anyway that's pretty healthy. Yep. I mean, we are well paid. Yep. And then beyond that, then it becomes really interesting. Yeah. Yep. Any other mentors outside of real estate?
Yeah, look, I mean, I see a guidance counsellor that I catch up with. I mean, I've had a rough time. 5 years ago, we had a death in our office, a suicide, which was hugely impactful on my life, on obviously his family and our business and our industry. So I became very passionate about mental health in the industry.
And if anybody has any issues, that's certainly contact Lifeline or something like that, because in our business there has been a few in real estate, unfortunately.
Yeah, so absolutely. We've got a higher suicide rate in our industry than in the police force. True. You know, that's it's a pretty huge stat. Yeah. I was involved in the Rise initiative, which was we run a conference every year and leadership programs going out into offices and helping with just mental health, and created an app as well to help people in the industry. So that's been app? Something. It's Rise. So you can go and download that through the Apple Store. Yeah. Right. Or contact me, Kate.Strickland at
We'll put it down the bottom.
Yeah,
of
we
the
can
video.
put it there. Yeah. So to help people with their mental health, and I think that's why having a mentor is so important. If you can't lean on someone in the tough times or the good times and share the journey with them and talk to someone. I mean, we have high highs and low lows in this industry. Like, my mum used to say to me, I don't know how you do it, Kate. You go out on an auction day and you pass 3 properties in that you've worked so hard to win them over years, and then to be in the trenches, and then you come home and you say, nothing got over the line today, and you wear your heart on your sleeve for your clients. You shattered for them. You shattered for your team, for all the work you've put in, and you think, am I ever going to actually get this one, a sold sticker on the board? And then you come home the following weekend and you've solved 3 from 3 and you're on top of the world and you want to pop the champagne. To deal with that and find that, I mean, Buddhism and that center point, and to find that balance in life. I'm 15 years in and I'm still trying to find the balance in real estate. And I think, if you don't have someone guiding you through that process, you'll combust or you'll just walk out the door and leave the game.
I think that is great advice. Yeah, real estate is definitely about ups and downs. So before we go into a bit of a process about mentoring in various different segments, let's talk about what do you think are the qualities in a mentor? Can anybody be a mentor?
I think so.
And if they can, what do you think are the good qualities in being a mentor? In other words, if you're looking for a mentor, what do you think you should look for in a mentor?
Well, obviously, someone that's on the path that you want to be on. So first of all, it's an industry that you're in, or they've got a way of life that you'd like. You've got to be careful when you take someone on and you work with them, or you get mentored by someone, and then you find out there's a lot behind the closet that maybe you didn't know about them. So do your research when you want to work with someone and learn from them and say, I'd like to be like you. And look, people reach out to me from other states or suburbs that are a long way away and say, we'd love you to mentor. And I just think, it's not really going to work, because we're in different marketplaces, or we live vastly different lives, or we actually don't connect. You've got to have that, you just meet people and you just have this beautiful energy and connection, and you think, I could work with you. I mean, my Dali Wisdom, who I have worked with she's been with me 8 years. We just had our 8-year anniversary. Wow. And when I employed Dali, she flew down from the Gold Coast, pink hair, tongue ring, neck ring, tattoos. I mean, she won't mind me saying these things. And but we just sat together, and although we're in completely different stages of our lives, I looked at her and I said, "You're my girl, and you will be for as long as I can see into the future." And we're still attached at the hip. And she's so grateful for the time I've spent with her. And similarly, she's changed my life, and I couldn't do what I've done without Dali. I mean, that's the perfect mentorship, to the point where now we're peers. You know, we're complete equals. And I learn from Dali now. I mean, if that's not the most fulfilling thing you can ever do, where you mentor someone and they almost become your mentor, what an achievement for both of us.
So I think what you're saying in some way, shapes or form, but correct me if I'm wrong, some of the qualities you're looking for in a mentor would be to be in a similar industry as you, because that sort of logic, they're going to know a lot of the issues that you're facing. I suppose they need to be open, to be accepting of you as
coachable.
Coach, yes. So, and finally, then you as a mentor, you probably need to be empathetic towards them in some way, shape or form, something I lack occasionally, I'm told. So you need to understand, but that comes back a little bit. If you're pretty good in your business and you're reasonably open and you're a little bit human, then you'll tend to be a bit empathetic, because you'll understand all the issues that a fellow agent is facing.
Well, that's right. I mean, that's the definition of empathy, isn't it? To be able to put yourself in their shoes and understand what they're going through. So, you know, if you can do that in anything in life, you know, Chris Hanley, my mentor, asked me years ago, he was writing a book perhaps, and he said to me, what would you say is the key leadership skill to success? And I said empathy. You know, if you can't put yourself in someone's shoes, then you are just so closed and self-centered and arrogant, you know, and so good luck having success in any industry, let alone real estate, where you're completely a part of someone's journey in life, and it is not about you. It is all about them. That's what we do so well.
Okay, let's go a little bit structural now, and let's go a little bit structural in the process of being a mentor, and let's split it into three. So you've got three people that you're going to mentor. One will be an agent within your company. The second one would be a client, either a buyer or a seller or both. And the third one would be a family member, or a close relative or really close friend. So let's just start off with an agent within your company, or somebody that's come to see you. What's the process? How do you start? And where are you actually trying to finish?
Yeah, so I mean, I think you've got to understand their goals too. So when they come to you and say they'd like to be mentored, they need to understand where they want to go, and you need to understand then how to take them there, and if you're the right person to do it. So you're just having a catch up with them and say, you know, where are you at in your career, and where would you like to go? You know, who have you been watching? Who would you like to be like? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? And that's probably how it starts. And you might just do a weekly check-in with them, make sure that they're on track. I mean, we do one-on-ones all the time with our team. So, I mean, you can do something that's more structured, or you can just say, look, quarterly, let's just check in and see where you're at in life. Look, I find walking and talking an amazing way of mentoring. I think when you physically move, a lot comes out. I also think when you sit face to face with people, you can have energy clash, and sometimes it can get a little heated, or you know, you just don't flow. It can be intimidating for one or the other. I think
I'm
when
intimidated
you're,
now.
Oh yeah, I'm so scary.
Yeah.
And fun.
Yeah.
But you know, when you walk and you're not looking at each other and you're just walking along, you can just say, you know, how's it going? What's working? What's not? How's life on field, off field? You know, I think one of the best things that I do with people I mentor is I like to understand their, you know, I call it a bit of a pit crew, like what makes them the best they can be. And I like to create a pit crew for people. So say for me, it's having family support, it's having on-field support in real estate, it's having a coach, it's having my spiritual side of me, it's having my physical gym, my food I put in my body. So you look at your pit crew and you say, who's mentoring me to then get my car well oiled, you know, the best machine with the best wheels and the best petrol so I can go the fastest. You know, that's me. I'm a racing car, so how do I do it? So I'd like to help people build their pit crew to be the best they can be. You know, that's something I can do when I'm mentoring. Now,
you brought up about coach and mentoring. So for the general part, mentoring is usually an unpaid job. Is that correct? And
definitely.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
So
I've never asked for $1 in what I do, and you know, I'll go on the record and say I never would. Oh, look, maybe in 20 years, if I decide to change my tact in real estate. Perhaps, a lot of people say, can you coach me? I'm happy to pay.
That's different. A coaching and mentoring is definitely a different role.
Completely different. I just love to help people. In fact, I had 2 clients come to me recently and asked me to mentor their daughter. One was a goddaughter and one was a daughter. And I employed them. I met with them both 19-year-olds, local schools, just finished year 12, both at uni. Encouraged them both to stay at uni, but I employed them both part-time. I said, I don't need to mentor you. I'll actually employ you. I see so much future in these girls as young, up-and-coming talent, to inspire them to come into the industry and start to watch how we do things and learn and grow and be inspired by the people doing things well. I brought them in. I'm not going to do that to too many people. I'll be poor. No. But, that's been a great opportunity for them and for me to be in a position financially and in my career where I can now employ people to mentor them even day to day.
So would you approach that the same as what you would approach mentoring an agent within your company or somebody that's come to ask you for help who's an outside agent?
Not an outside agent, because obviously, even if they're a competitor agent, I'd still catch up with them for a coffee from time to time. I couldn't care less if they're competing or not.
I think it's a really good thing, and I think a lot of people don't understand in our industry. I mean, you and I are similar in some ways. There's plenty of people come to me for advice and you sit down and you give ongoing mentoring to, and it's not a paid job, and you just do it because you love the industry and you like to see people improve. But anyway, back to you. Sorry.
I was also going to say, when in becoming a mentor for someone, the best way to learn is to teach.
Yeah.
And so, selfishly, it's actually uplifting and educating to help someone. So if you're not helping someone, guiding someone, or mentoring someone, and you're a successful agent, like, I would ask you to have a good hard look at yourself in the mirror. Yeah. I find that a complete waste of your talent and knowledge.
Agree totally with it. I'm just thinking of my 2 daughters that have come through the business. They've been there for a couple of years, and now both have moved on in the last few weeks. One has gone to Chisholm and Gaiman, which I think is a really beautiful company to be further developing their skills. Her skills, and then the other one is going into a more business orientated. She's doing a degree currently and now going into a bigger company. Fantastic. And I feel tremendous about it. I feel really, really good. But that's children, but also even if it's not children, when people improve, when people get better and better at things, it's great.
And they may leave. Like, the fear is always, I'm mentoring someone and they leave my business. I've had young guys over the years, particularly, that I've spent a lot of time with, lying there pregnant with my fluid-filled feet, and I'm helping them better their careers. And then months later, they fly the coop, leave, and go elsewhere, even to compete. And
that's because you intimidated them. That's
I did it. It was face to face when I was pregnant, but couldn't walk and talk. Yeah. But you don't take that personally. Yeah. They wanted to go off and spread their wings and find out what else was out there. And guess what? They're back. Yeah. Didn't take them long to realise that, that perhaps the grass isn't greener. But I sort of admired the fact that they had the courage to walk out. I didn't see it as a bad thing. I didn't see it as a personal attack on me or Marsha White. Go and find what you can find out in the big world. And now they're back. They're bigger. They're better. They're stronger. They've had a bit of humble pie, which sometimes you need to realise that, maybe I shouldn't have
you ever eaten
walked
humble
away.
Pie? Maybe 28 years ago for a minute and a half. I wouldn't say you're the most humble person I've ever met in my life.
That's horrible, Mel.
Is it?
No, humility is a solid characteristic.
I mean that in a nice way. You are out there and you believe in yourself.
I do. If you don't believe in yourself, who else will believe in you?
And what is wrong with that? Yeah. I think that's a great quality.
There's a fine line. It's not an arrogance. It's a confidence and a self-belief.
I didn't say you're arrogant.
No.
But I don't think you're humble either. I think you're proud of yourself. And I like that in you.
And that firmness and confidence means that I can take my clients on a journey and say, have confidence in me. Like I've had BRW top 10 rich list people come to me over the years and say, Kate, what do I do? And I think, what an honour. I'll take your hand and I'll lead you. You want to listen to me and I'll guide you through a journey of building wealth or, doing this property process in the right way. But you're going to do it the way that I suggest and I'll get you the best outcome. I mean, if I don't believe in myself, then they're not going to come knocking on my door to do business.
Well, that's exactly what I was talking about. So we've covered an agent within your company and we've covered maybe a family member. Let's go to look at a buyer and a seller, and maybe we'll cover both. I suppose in some ways, some people don't really want mentoring, buyers and sellers, when they come to you, but they actually need it and they get some without them even knowing they're getting it.
Are you meaning guidance in terms of how to buy, how to sell?
Yeah, but plenty of times clients do. They would go to you, and they certainly would come to me at times. They come for advice.
Yeah.
In other words, they're looking for a bit of a mentor, for want of a better word. They're looking for an agent. They want to get the job done, but they are looking for somebody that's going to give them some genuine advice and help them make some good decisions. Is that not
Absolutely.
a mentoring process?
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say as a female that most of those people are women that would come to me for that sort of advice. I've inspired I can say Kate Fowler, who's a partner in our business. I met her at an auction. I was selling for a friend of hers, and I just loved her way. And she said, "Can we have a coffee next week? I'd love to talk about the industry." She was working, I think, for the Hyatt, moved over from England, and now we're probably almost 10 years, I would say, 8 to 10 years down the track of working together. That's a huge feather in the cap when you've inspired someone to join the industry and then go on and have success and put her children through private school education and have a great life. Kim McQueen, who's working up in the Dalesford market.
Mate, she's on fire up there.
Yep, flying. And I sold for Kim. And then, we just became close. And she said, "I love what you do and I'd like to do what you do." I mean, that's over 10 years ago. That's probably 13, 14 years ago that I employed Kim to come and work at Marshall White. And now she's running her own business in Dalesford, absolutely flying. I mean, they're two that I can think of straight off the bat that were not in the industry, and bang, now they are, and they're absolutely amazing.
Well, shall I go one up on you or not?
Go. I'd love to say, be humble, Mel.
Okay, I'll try to, but I've got a lot to be humble about. So, but the person that inspired me to get in this industry was David Morrell.
Right.
So I was reading an article into this side of the industry. I was on the other side.
Interesting.
I was doing my own business, doing my own thing, I should say, and I read about him a few times, and he came and gave a talk, and I listened. So even though we're very strong competitors at the moment, I tip my hat to David. He definitely inspired me to come into the industry.
Yeah,
didn't do any mentoring afterwards, but he inspired me to come into the industry.
Happy for you to stay down there.
Happy for
and
me just to sort of fall away, but that's the way it goes.
Yeah.
Okay, so just again, staying a little bit on the process and a little bit with buyers and sellers. Let's just focus in on that. People want some advice, and let's say they're a seller. They want some advice. How do you go about that mentoring? I do the marketing. Yeah, we pull the vacuum cleaner out and do this. Yeah, we show you some glossy brochures. Let's leave all that aside. When people have got to make some big decisions, some big pressure decisions, first of all, to get started in the process, not necessarily with you, so let's not worry about that either. So to get started and then to actually do the deal, that involves guidance.
Yeah, completely. And I think you've got to start with the macro, the bigger picture, and then you can get down to the micro, marketing and strategy and all of that. I mean, that's what we do. It's a given. But, I always say to people, start with the end in mind. Why are you doing this? And money's never enough. And I think that's a really nice thing to say to people, because most agents go in there with commission breath and they just want to get their house on the market and get it out there, and because it's about them again. It's about, I want to market me and I want to make money and I want to be the best. Whereas just not even part of my thought process. I'm saying, well, why are you doing this? And sometimes I turn people away from selling. I say, I actually don't think this is the best time for you to sell. I think you need to go back and think more about why you're doing this and what's inspiring you. And that is so respected by a client, because they're saying, well, I love that advice. It's not about you. And then you've just broken down any barrier of questionability of your integrity and why you're doing what you do. And they trust you completely. If they like you, they listen. If they trust you, they'll do business. They'll never forget that. They'll always come back to you.
So on that side of things, what you are saying, you need to be empathetic, and I know we've used that word before, but in our business we're also said build rapport. But build rapport is like a technical situation where you've read that in Sales 101. Build rapport basically means suck up to the buyer or the seller and try and be their friend and tell them you love them. I mean, that is just... I hate it.
Well, I call it a bullshit radar. I think people have just got such a great radar for that these days. And the minute you walk in and you're not genuine and you're gushy and I just love this, and they say, you'd say that about every house.
Correct. If a potential customer and you, if you can't take a little bit of conflict or disagreement, whatever the right word is, well then, why do you actually need the selling agent if the selling agent's going to go, yeah, all the way through. I mean, where's the value?
You want to be challenged, and I think that's important. You know, don't be scared to be completely honest. Look, I have absolutely zero filter, and sometimes I walk around with a foot in my mouth. Like some of the things I just think, I cannot believe I said that. You know, it's so honest.
Hopefully not on this.
No, not on the podcast. No, but I'm not backwards and coming forwards, and I say that to people. I say I'm not going to sugarcoat, and if you want sugarcoat, I'm not your girl. And I think people once again respect that, because and that's why you and I love working together and always have, because it's just as it is. It's straight up. There's nothing. There's no right, bows. I'm not. It's just as it is. We'll be completely honest. If I think there's something that you need to do better, I say I'll tell you what you need to do more of, less of, and vice versa. I'm giving you permission to do the same back. And that's a massive trust factor and building rapport with somebody to work with them, is that you have that permission to be honest with each other. I always say to a client, you know, what do you recommend that I could be doing better, more of, less of? And they love that, because you're actually saying, you're not being arrogant. There's no ego involved. You're saying, I'd like your guidance too. You know, you can know best. I don't have to know best.
Well, that's just leading on to my next question, because I find, especially in the upper echelons, especially with people you like, and I tend not to work with the people I don't like, or they tend not to engage me, and so there's a few people don't engage me. Just a few. I do find that it's in the reverse mentoring process. I mean, if they're where they're at and they're pretty good at their jobs, then they're guiding you. I mean, I think we're back. I think real estate is, in some ways, with some sellers, has gone well beyond where footy was 20 years ago, where you would just get out there and you would scream at the players, or you get out there and you scream at the agent. I mean, how can an agent be working well for you when you've actually basically told them you think they're a dickhead?
Exactly.
How does that work? Whereas the highly skilled sellers and even the highly skilled buyers, when we're acting for them as a buyer agent, I know I'm being mentored in some way, shape, or form about what they want. But it's also being done in a kind way to say, well, Mel, have you thought about this? What about that? And I think the better agents are hopefully, well, not hopefully, they are. I think the better agents are open to that.
Completely.
Rather than going in there saying, well, we know all, because we don't.
No.
There's plenty of times plenty of time buying clients and selling clients have some really good ideas, but many times I've seen selling agents in particular, and some buying agents, not only just ignore, they don't even hear it in the first place.
Yeah, they're not even open to that two-way. I mean, two-way communication is just the key to success, isn't it? So, you know, like I said, have that open environment where you can, ask as much for help as you give guidance. Don't talk, listen. And then you're just on an even keel. And I think back years ago to a speaker once again at the ARIC conference, and he spoke about closing within rapport. So if you're not in rapport and you don't feel like you're gelling with somebody, then you're just never going to get the outcome that you want. You're never going to get a positive outcome from a negative situation. So get on the same page, respect one another, listen, have that trust and that honesty. And I think that you'll both get the outcome you want, whether you're being mentored or you're mentoring.
Okay, so how do you find that when there's a two-way street? How do you get that balance between giving some advice and receiving some advice in a more balanced relationship?
Well, I think, just like I said before, liking and trusting. There's got to be, like you said, you don't represent people you don't like. I'm the same. There's someone called me this morning about a $1.5 million villa unit in Beaumaris, and she said, I didn't know if I should call you, Kate. You do top end these days, and I know you just sold something over $6 million. I said, Fiona, it is not about the homes. It is about the client that I work with and the value we add to one another's lives. 4 walls and a ceiling are 4 walls and a ceiling. I couldn't care less if it's worth $1 million or $6 million or $10 million or $16 million. In fact, the $16 million, I probably have no interest because they're not my people. I don't need to be at that space. I probably never will be at that space. And I don't think that we would gel and have rapport. So, it's a certain characteristic in a human and the value we bring. And, when they come up on your phone, you want to go, oh, there's so-and-so, and you answer it happily instead of, we've all had those, oh, I can't answer that call.
Yeah.
Like, you're gone. Yeah. You're not going to do good business, and you're not going to have a great energy, symmetry, and get to a good result together.
I think that's an important point. I think as we do this business for longer and longer, you work out that it's not only not being fair to yourself, you don't want to do it, but it's not actually fair to the client, even if you don't like them.
Exactly.
Don't take their business
you
on
won't do the best by them.
if you do not connect. And
yeah.
we're exactly the same. I do buy properties and I do sell properties at $1 million.
Yeah.
I do them for people I know. I don't do them for people I haven't worked with before. So yes, people know us for 20 million and 10 million and maybe even 30 million.
Yeah.
But we do just as many. Well, we do more jobs at lower levels, and happy to do ones that are almost not profitable.
Correct.
Because they're part of the family. They're either a child or they're a downsizer, or things have changed, or you've been asked too nicely to do it.
Yeah.
And of course, you get paid a little bit of money, but you do it because you want to give them some advice, you want to help them, you want to mentor them because people have helped you in the past.
Correct. Yeah. We did one actually last year when you asked about an emotional campaign, and she'd been completely misguided by another agent and overpromised and underdelivered as sometimes can be the case. And she was recovering from breast cancer. She was on her own. She was just down to her last dollar. And when we sat with her, and it wasn't even in my core area, it was in Black Rock, which I don't do a lot in that marketplace. And I sat down with her and I said, we will sell this for you, and we will sell this for you for nothing. And within a couple of weeks, we dropped a buyer into the property and put the whole thing together. And she, every time we caught up, she just bawled because she was just so sad that her life was sort of at the point it was at, but so happy that someone had come along to help. I mean, that's so rare. And like you said, it just gives back. Like you don't do it selfishly to just make yourself feel great, but you do feel great. And I think the more generous you are with your time and the more generous you are with your heart and if it can be with your wallet, once you get to a point when you can do that, then you can put your head on the pillow at night and really say, I'm proud of myself and I'm proud of the industry I'm in and the person I am.
I agree. I think there'll be some cynics who are listening to this at the moment. We're going, well, we're just saying this to make you're saying it to make yourself look a little bit better. I don't know what to say to those people because whatever you say, they're going to see the wrong side. Our industry is actually a really good industry in a lot of ways. It can be a bit poor in some ways, and we tend to, you included, myself included, we tend to highlight some of the negatives because that's a selling point, and that's true. But overall, there's a number of really positive things about this industry, and a lot of people do help a lot of people, and that was really nice to hear about that Black Rock story, and I'm sure there are other agents out there that do the same, and well done. Well done.
Oh,
it's
thank
really
you,
good.
Mel.
That's right.
And I think to anyone who would think that we're acting, we're not that good at acting.
No. So, what are some of the more challenging situations where, in other words, you are giving people some guidance, and not so much they don't want to take it, perhaps they don't, but they disagree with you. And two things: they disagree with you politely, but then also they disagree with you a bit sort of heavily, because in our business, both on the buying and the selling sides, and you'll have done some buying as well. So sometimes we talk. I think it's tough love. You do need to give some tough love because that's what you genuinely believe. So you are mentoring in a way that's conflictual, if that's a word. Hope it is.
Well, it can be now.
It is now. So how do you manage that sort of situation where you're at one side and they're at the other side, and you can. There's not a whole lot of love in between just at that moment.
Yeah, and then that's what I said about trying to close within rapport and outside of rapport. If you're outside, the minute it's broken down, you think I'm gone here. I mean, you can have that in a relationship with a partner where you just think we're out of rapport here. And you can go out for dinner, you can go on walks, you can have conversations, but you just can't get back to that place.
Yeah.
If you get that far down the track, and we discussed it in the office yesterday morning where we had a situation where an agent and a vendor had just completely lost trust and love for each other, and it was never going to happen with that person leading the charge, change the batting. I'd often say step aside. It's not about you. You've got to do what you can do to get everyone to the outcome they started out with an intention of achieving. So you may, in that case, change the batting, step aside, bring someone in that you think can get themselves back into rapport, pick the personality and the characteristics that will match and connect, and say, look, I actually think, be honest. Like, I'm honest. I just say, I actually think that you and I have fallen out here. It's not on, we're not on the same page, we're not connecting, we're not vibing. It's probably time I step aside. If you're happy for me to do that, I've actually got someone that might be a good match for you to come in and connect. And that's with a buyer or a seller, an agent in your office that you're trying to help and you're just not getting there with them. Step out, change the batting.
when you're mentoring people, there'll be some times when it's just not working. And if you're a good mentor, you've got to basically be able to say to people, it's time to move on.
Exactly. Drop the armour, drop the ego and just say, I'm going to step aside here.
Yeah.
And make a good suggestion for them to have someone else lead them.
Great. So let's finish off with one last question then what's your definition of success? What's your definition of success for you and for mentoring? Yeah.
Yep. So I think success means different things to different people. That's one of the first understandings that I probably only learned that 5-6 years ago. If you're trying to have what you think is success based on someone else's success, you say, well, that means a lot to them, so it should mean a lot to me. You're never going to get there. So the first thing, the biggest success is defining what success means to you. So for me, at this point in my career, success is mentoring, guiding, building up the youth, inspiring people to join the industry, making our industry as a whole looked at in a better light than it has been, potentially over the years. Inspiring women to enter the industry, having balance, encouraging people to take time out for them. No one's standing up at your funeral and saying, oh, you wrote this much, commission in a year. You owned this many offices and this many houses. You drove that car. No one gets up and says that at your funeral. They get up and talk about your life and how you made them feel. So, to me, that's what I've worked out success is. Define your values. I have 3 core values. Define what those values are. You might reassess them every 1 to 2 years. If you're on track with your values, that is success. That is life. That's when you're at rapport with yourself.
What are your values?
So my number 1 value is growth and personal development. I said I'm a junkie.
Yeah.
I always have to be growing. I see my life on a ladder and I'm always stepping up. And if I'm not stepping up, I see that as a failure. So it's a lot of pressure I put on myself, but that's a value for me. My second value is helping others. So, if I'm not mentoring, guiding, if I feel off track, I'll go and take someone out for a coffee and see if they need help, and then straight away I'm on track. And my third value is fun and happiness. If I'm doing something that's not fun, if I'm not happy, I'm completely off track. I'm miserable, I'm boring, I'm sad, and I have specific triggers that make me happy, whether it's a song, whether it's a person. I have a specific person. He's at a competing industry, competing agency, Trent Colley, actually one of my best mates who's at Jealous Craig Bentley. He's my happy place, he's my fun. And if I'm off track, I call Trent. He makes me laugh my head off in 3.5 seconds and I'm just happy again. So I'm not saying I just give it all to someone else to make me happy. I'm happy in myself too, but that's a big value for me too. And if I'm on track with those 3 values, and they've changed in over the years in order, but I'd say for the last 3, 4, 5 years, those have been my 3. And people would say, what about family? What about your son? Well, he's in growth and development for me. He's in helping others, and he's in fun and happiness. That's Zach. He's in all those things. So, define your values, and then from there, I can say if I'm a success.
Well, it's been absolutely inspirational, and you are an inspiration to me too, Kate. So thank you very much.
As you are to me.
Thank you very
so
much. No worries. Thanks.